How's it going, everybody? It is Dennis and we're back with another video, and today we're doing a special video. We're going to be doing a green screen presentation for you guys. As you guys can see, I have my green screen up. I can have my screen right there. As you can see on my presentation today, we're talking about YieldMax ETFs Investing 101. As we can see the logo right there, we all know that beautiful logo. If you're new to YieldMax ETFs, you're going to learn a lot today. If you're old to YieldMax ETFs, if you've been invested, you'll learn maybe a little bit more. And if you're here and there, you're right in the middle, well, we'll see what happens, all right? As we can see right here, we have the guy who manages all the money, the main man right here. So we put his picture right in the front. But let's go ahead and get straight into it. And before we do, of course, this is not financial advice. I am not sponsored by YieldMax ETFs. I'm not selling you their ETF. This is just an informative video to better understand how to invest in this ETF and how to play the cards right. So, going straight into it, what are and why are YieldMax ETFs? What are they and why are they existing? Why are they a thing? Well, YieldMax ETFs, well, they are ETFs, obviously, that invest in an underlying stock. In that underlying stock, they then create income, which they pay out in dividends to you, the investor. All right. They are high income potential. They have high income potential. They pay high dividends, anywhere from 20 to 50 to 60 to 70% dividends, depending on the volatility and the premium in that underlying stock. Now, they are convenient and they are easy to invest in. You just put your money into it, you let the manager do the work, and you pay them a little fee, usually under 1%. And it's pretty good. Getting 50% returns, even 30% returns for a 1% fee, I'll say that's a pretty good take. That's a pretty good return. And of course, it's customizable. You can pick any underlying stock you want. Amazon, Tesla, Google, Microsoft, any underlying you want, they probably have an ETF for it. And if they don't have it now, they might have it in the future. Now, how do YieldMax ETFs work? Well, YieldMax ETFs are pretty simple. It's a synthetic covered call strategy. They have a short put and a long call, which creates a long stock position. And of course, they have a short call, which then creates your income, which is paid to you with dividends, as seen all right here. So it's pretty simple, right? It's pretty simple. Well, of course, it's not simple if you were to do it yourself, but of course, you're paying them that 1% or under 1% fee for them to do all the hard work, manage your strategies, manage your options, manage all the things that come with synthetic covered call strategies. They will do it for you and they will pay you a pretty penny. Now, what are the YieldMax ETFs that they have? Well, these are all the YieldMax ETFs right here. These are all the YieldMax ETFs. And these YieldMax ETFs have been open for years. The TSOY was the first one, and we'll get into that later. So we have TSOY, we have Apple, NVIDIA, AMZ, Phoebe, GUI, Coney, Netflix. And then over here on the bottom, we have the new ones, YMAX, YMAG, and ULTY. These are all the new YieldMax ETFs, and we'll get into those because these are a little bit special. And these are pretty trendy, and I think they'll be good in the future. But like I said, we'll get that in the future or into the next slides. What YieldMax do I personally own? Of course, my YouTube channel has always been about being open and showing my positions. And I will not be talking about a YieldMax ETF or any ETF or any strategy or any stock if I was myself not invested into it. I will not yap about some ETF and about some stock that will make you rich unless I was personally invested in and taking that risk. So all these 5 ETFs are what I'm invested in. Right here, I have TSOY. Then I have YMAX, which is a new ETF and the new one that I've been invested into. We have GUI, we have AMZ, and we have Apple. Now, to be completely open, and then maybe if you could zoom in, you can see right here on the bottom, I am down on I'm down on 3 out of 5. So I am up on YMAX, I am up on AMZ. AMZ is 11%. YMAX, it's roughly how much? 5%. And then on Tesla, I am down 41%. On GUI, I am down 8% or 9%. And then on Apple, I am down 14%. So being completely open, that is without dividends, that is just straight value being lost. I am down on 3 out of 5, and I'm up on 2 out of 5. So the pros for YieldMax ETFs. Well, of course, like we said, it's a high income potential, right? You're able to earn a lot of income from 50% for TSOY. AMZ, we have 20 to 30%. We have Coney earning us 80 to 100% returns. there's a lot of income to be earned and it's paid on a monthly basis. Of course, it is also convenient and easy. You do not have to manage it yourself. You allow them to manage everything for you. So they manage it for you, pay them a fee, and you get your dividends every month, and you know when they're going to come because they post a schedule every year. So you have dividends coming in, you have income that you could use to whatever you like, which we'll get to later on, and it's pretty easy. All you have to do is just pay a under 1% fee. I'll say it's a win-win. So with pros, there are always negatives, right? There are always negative with pros, and YieldMax ETF is once again an ETF that also has its negatives, as we can see. And as I mentioned before, TSLY in the past year and a half that has been open has dropped 61.44%. Yes, 61.44%. And as you can see right here, I have lost negative 3.6K or negative 41.82% in TSLY, of course, without dividends. And this is the reason why right here. This is the reason. This is the strategy. It is a simple covered call strategy. You are maxing out your growth on the top because of a contract. Say, for this example, we have a $100 stock. You put a contract at 105. If it goes up to 105, that's it. You are limited. But you are not limited to all the downsides. So for underlying, just like Tesla, we lost a lot of money because Tesla fell in stock price. If Tesla falls, if the underlying falls for the ETF you're invested in, this will happen to you as well. Of course, if you're invested in something like Amazon or AMZ in YieldMax ETF's case, you will win, right? I have a 12% return on my NAV for AMZ, and I also have all the dividends I earned. Or if you invest in something YieldMax that is diversified, has 21 YieldMax ETFs in it, and is up roughly 5%, and it also gives you a dividend return as well. So it depends on the YieldMax ETF you invest in, depends on what you choose, and depends on the underlying performance. In this case, the Tesla underlying performance was not that good, and it continues to fall and fall and fall. Of course, if Tesla takes a turn, so will TSLY, but of course it will be limited to this growth right here, depending on the contracts that the YieldMax ETFs people will decide to choose for every week. Now, who are YieldMax ETFs made for? Well. A lot of people argue about this. A lot of people argue about who YieldMax ETFs are made for, but I have an easy 3 category. We have the old people, the retirees. We see right here, we have our Mr. Retiree here on the island. You know, he's relaxing on the island, but he is retired and he wants to make income. And he has a bunch of money saved up from his 401k or his Roth IRA or his pension plan, and he doesn't care to sell it and then have to pay capital gains on long term. If that's the case, he just wants to make income and he wants to know he'll make it all the time on a monthly basis. So he will invest in a YieldMax ETF, maybe not in TSLY, maybe in YMAX or YMAG, something that's a little bit more diversified. Pays him 30% return compared to maybe what he would be invested in, originally. Originally, people invest into REITs. People invest into dividend ETFs that pay you anywhere from 3 to 10%. This could double, triple, or maybe 5 times your income that you'll be earning on a yearly basis. Just invested into YieldMax ETFs. Now, the second person who might be invested into YieldMax ETFs is the Wall Street bets, the gambler, the person who wants to buy option calls expiring in the 0 DTE or a weekly basis, the guy who wants to gamble on iron butterflies or iron condors on some random stock that he saw, or he wants to buy the options that Nancy Pelosi bought a year ago and he thinks it'll go up now, such as NVIDIA. Well, say you have $10,000 and you are that gambler. Why would you take that $10,000 and invest it straight into your gambling? You're going to lose it all, right? You'll lose it all, or maybe you win, who knows? But in most case scenarios, option buyers lose, right? So you are an option buyer, you waste your $10,000, and now you have no more. You have to work another year to make it back your $10,000. But if you are a degenerate gambler and you want to go ahead and gamble, you put your $10,000 to a YieldMax ETF, you put it into a nice YMAX that pays you 30% a year, you are getting $3,000 a year to gamble on whatever you want. You don't have to work a day to go ahead and put in another $10,000 every year. You just get $3,000 to go and gamble on whatever you want. Any option you want to gamble on, YMAX will pay you so you can do it all every single month over and over and over again and gamble as much as your heart desires. Now, the third person who can enjoy investing in YieldMax ETFs is the person who is lazy. I say lazy, they just want to make income, right? They have money left over. It's on their savings account. They don't care where it goes. It's going to sit there anyways. It's most likely an emergency fund or some kind of trip they want to go on, right? They want to purchase a house, but even though markets are crazy right now, so they're probably not going to purchase a house. So they want to have extra income so that they could go ahead and buy their nice car. They could buy their nice clothes, their nice bags. They just want to enjoy their life. So they can also invest in YieldMax ETFs. They could put their savings or whatever they have in there, and they can make steady income. Of course, it depends on the underlying you invest. This is not financial advice. I don't know what is the best strategy for you. I don't know which ETF is the best for you, but whatever it is, do your research and put your money into it if you're in these three categories, because most case scenario, these three areas are probably better than any else. Now, the three best strategies for dividends when it comes to YieldMax ETFs, of course, you get paid out monthly. Now, what are you going to do with these dividends? Well, you get 100% reinvest back into the ETF. Drip it back in. Let the brokers do all the work and grow your portfolio in YieldMax ETFs. So then maybe in a year, you could 50% your income, and now you're making more income. Why not? It's a good thing, right? If you invest in TSLY, you increase your portfolio by 50% in TSLY, and now you have a bigger portfolio. You're making more dividends. It's pretty simple, right? Number two, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. Well, you could take out 50% and do whatever you want with it. It's your cash. Do whatever you want. Or you take the other 50% and reinvest that back into it, right? It's anything you want. You could do 33, 66. You could do whatever you want. Whatever your high desire is, 25, 75, you could do. That's the great part about YieldMax ETFs, right? And then finally, you have the 100% takeout and enjoy life. That's the person who just wants to put money in. They don't care about growing their YieldMax ETF position. They just put in 100,000. They want to get back 50,000 every year. There you go. YieldMax ETF, perfect investment for you. It'll go ahead and fund any journey you like. Now, what is my strategy? Of course, as I say all the time, I like being open as possible. So my strategy going for YieldMax ETFs, it's pretty simple. TSLY makes up 12% of my portfolio, so I no longer need to invest back into it, but I still am, just to try and lower my average NAV for TSLY. So 50% is going back into it, 50% is going into cash. For AMZ, it is 11% of my portfolio. So 50% is going back into AMZ, 50% is going into cash. GUI, 100% reinvested, is only roughly, I think, 2% of my portfolio. Apple, 100% reinvested, that is only 5% of my portfolio. And YieldMax is 100% reinvested because that is only 1.5% of my portfolio. Now, with these red 50%, the other 50%, these red ones right here from TSLY and AMC, that 50% will go to fund my option strategy. That will go to fund my other ETFs. Right now, at the moment, I'm using Tesla and AMZ, these 50%, to fund my YieldMax position. So I'm growing, I'm diversifying using Tesla AMZ payouts. It's pretty simple. You could do whatever you want with it. That's the beauty of these YieldMax ETFs. You're not subjugated to one thing. It's not only income. You could do whatever you like, right? That's the beauty of it. You put in your $1,000, $10,000 and do whatever you like with the dividends they earn you. And of course, drip. Don't forget, always use drip. Don't try and time the market. Don't try and take out the cash. Of course you can. You can do whatever you want, but I recommend not to. I recommend just to use drip. Let it do all the work for you. That's the beauty of these funds. They do the work for you, and you just relax and enjoy your life and focus on whatever you need to. Now, my future outlook on YieldMax ETFs. Of course, I'm going to look at the ETFs I personally own. I cannot say about all the other YieldMax ETFs. I can only talk about the ones I personally own. Now, for YieldMax, I believe that YieldMax will truly be the future of YieldMax ETFs. I feel like it'll be the best performing ETF they have in their lineup. That is because it is diversified. It has 30 to 35% return so far, and it's grown for me personally 5%. I'm pretty sure overall it's grown by maybe 7 to 10%. So it's a pretty good fund. It's a pretty good fund. If you bought it when it came out, it would be up 10% plus with dividends earned with two new dividends coming out for the last month and this month. So I think it was 32 and now it's 36%. So it's a pretty good fund, and I think long term, if they continue to diversify, it'll be a pretty steady growth and a pretty good dividend coming out of it. Now with TSLY, this one's a little bit tricky. A lot of people disagree with my opinion, but I will stick to it because I do believe in the underlying. And that's the thing with these ETFs. You have to believe the underlying. You can't invest in a single ETF like AMZ Apple that focuses on one underlying and not believe in underlying, because then you'll just lose. And then you'll lose and you'll act on emotion and you'll sell. So what's the point, right? So Tesla, I believe that Tesla will come back to its strong roots. It will make a full recovery once interest rates cut. Once interest rates cut, Tesla, of course, being an interest-based company, I believe Tesla will skyrocket and Tesla will follow with it, since that's the underlying. And that's my take. A lot of people do disagree. And a lot of people would say that it's time to sell out. Tesla falling. There's no more for Tesla. But listen, it still pays out 50% dividends. It still does, 50 to 60% dividends. So the volatility is there. The dividends are there. The premium is there. So that goes on to the next slide. Even if these ETFs continue to fall, even if TSLY continues to fall, I've done this math before in another video, and you guys could check it out right after this video. It'll be here in the top right. YieldMax ETFs funds, if they continue to fall, they will continue to do reverse splits. They will continue. They've said it. They'll continue doing reverse splits. You will continue to make your income. And the best thing is, as long as volatility stays up, as long as the underlying exists and the volatility stays and your premium stays the same and your dividend stays the same, there's no point in selling. There's no point in selling. We went over that in the previous videos. Right here, if we look at TSLY as an example, year 1, you're in the red. Year 2, you're break even, since dividends are 50%. So in 2 years, that's 100% return. And in year 3, you're profitable. Year 3, year 4, year 5, and so on, you are profitable. Doesn't matter how much you put in. If you put in 10,000, by year 2, you've made back 10,000. And by year 3, year 4, year 5, you're growing, right? 15, 20, 25, and so on, right? That's assuming you're not reinvesting and you're taking straight cash out. If you're reinvesting, of course, it could grow and it could be faster to reaching that break even. Now, even if you decide not to keep the YieldMax ETFs, you can't bear to watch your screen be red. You don't have the emotional strength to watch your portfolio be in the red, and you don't want to see it. Well, you could always sell. You could always sell around December time, get as much dividends as you can from these funds, and then sell in December. Sell in December and take that tax write-off. You're eligible for it, so why not do it? Of course, you can only do a certain amount. You can only do $3,000 of tax loss harvesting. So you could sell 3,000 at a time. 3,000 one year, second year 3,000, another 3,000, depending on how much you have invested. So that is YieldMax Investing 101. YieldMax ETF Investing 101. And that's my presentation. Like I said, this green screen is a beauty. We're going to start using this green screen for everything, and we'll see what we could do with it. But that was my presentation. That's why I believe YieldMax ETF is a good ETF to invest in and why they're doing great things. It's not a growth ETF. It could be used in some ways. Like I said, you can invest in option strategies. You can invest in other ETFs and just keep your initial investment in there. And in over 2 years, depending on your return, say it's, AMZ is 30% return. Well, it's going to take you a little longer for break even, right? It'll take you roughly 3.5 years for break even. Tesla will take you 2 years. Coney, if it keeps paying 70, 60%, will take you 1.5 years. It depends on what you're invested in, but it will always break even, and it will always give you a return as long as the ETF exists. And as what we hear from the YieldMax managers, this little man right here, this beautiful man, he says they will never go anywhere. As long as the underlying stocks exist, they will not be going anywhere, and they will always exist. Therefore, I don't see why it's a bad investment. That's just me. That is my opinion. Once again, this is not financial advice. This is just an informative video to inform everybody who's new to YieldMax ETFs, who's old to YieldMax ETFs, and who's just in the middle. Maybe this will change your game plan. Maybe this will make you invest into it. Maybe this will give you a bigger reason to leave the investment. Someone's making a YouTube video, you just don't want to be a part of it no more. It's crashing, it's gone. That's it. You're tax harvesting already. Well, that's your opinion, that's your take, and of course, do your research, take your chances, do whatever's better for your portfolio. But that is my presentation, that is what I'll be doing, and that is why I'll be doing it. So thank you so much, everybody, for watching. That has been me, Dennis Kunert, and I'll see you guys in the next one.